Those of you that are familiar with my channel have likely seen me take a few victory laps lately when it comes to James Gunn's DCU, because I was one of the first people to declare that James Gunn's Superman movie was in fact a flop, that Peacemaker Season 2 was not delivering great ratings, and that Warner Brothers had spent money on an aggressive PR campaign spinning both Superman and Peacemaker as big wins in order to prop up their stock price before a potential company sale. And even though a lot of people, including some fellow content creators, had initially tried to discredit my reporting following both Superman's release and Peacemaker Season 2's premiere, now that the dust has settled, even they realize that everything that I had said in all of my videos in recent months was in fact entirely accurate. And after seeing the last few episodes of Peacemaker, especially episode 7, I think there's an additional victory lap that I can take here, as I was also one of the first to explain that James Gunn had become rather woke in his messaging, more so than in the past, something that many people seem to push back against, and once again, it turned out that I was right and they were wrong. Now, for those who haven't been keeping up with Season 2 of Peacemaker, this season James Gunn went for an overused multiverse concept that people have pretty much grown sick of at this point, especially when it comes to comic book properties. But to make matters worse, the whole setup on this show is that after participating in naughty birthday suit, parties? With both women and men at his home, Peacemaker decides that he prefers to live in an alternate version of Earth because in that one, his father and brother are still alive and the world itself is seemingly full of good people. But in a twist that pretty much everybody saw coming from a mile away, all those seemingly good people in the alternate dimension, who just so happen to be white, are actually evil because in their world, the Germans won the Second World War, so they're all Mustache Man enthusiasts. And after this was discovered in episode 6, many Gunn shows had tried to suggest that he was simply using Earth X from the comic book source material, and there was nothing woke about this storyline at all, and that it didn't resemble the usual type of propaganda we keep seeing from Hollywood and the mainstream media these days. And you know what? After watching episode 6, I was still hesitant about doing an official video about it, because I wanted to see where Gunn's version of the Earth X storyline was going before fully passing judgment on it, and even though I was pretty sure that I knew what James Gunn was planning when he decided to explore this idea, there was still a chance, however small, that Gunn would find a more nuanced approach to executing it on screen. And he almost got away with it, but in Season 2 Episode 7, James Gunn got greedy with his activism, and he just couldn't help himself, which is why in one brief moment, Gunn completely dropped his mask and exposed his entire agenda. This is of course in the scene where two diverse characters that also happen to be rainbow people talk about how this alternate version of Earth is full of Mustache Man enthusiasts that hate people like them and want them deleted.
You don't want to be a minority here. Jesus Christ. Him they love.
And then, in one line of dialogue, the character of Leota delivers James Gunn's far-left messaging, not just for this episode, but for this entire season of Peacemaker Season 2.
I'm not so sure this fantasy world is as different from our own world as we wish it was.
And for those people that don't know me, I just want to make something absolutely clear. I don't care if people are considered diverse or not, just as long as they're good people. Nor do I take interest in what type of romantic relationships people have within their own private lives. But that also doesn't mean that every single movie and TV show has to peddle this exact same stupid agenda over and over again, full of propaganda like white man bad, straight man bad, Westerners bad, capitalism bad, and orange man bad. Because at the end of the day, in an effort to seemingly be more inclusive, all these type of modern day Hollywood agendas end up achieving is alienating viewers when what they should be doing is providing them with some solid entertainment that actually unites them. And James Gunn telling the media that the detractors of his Peacemaker Season 2 agenda are istophobes is just him gaslighting people, again, and making the DCU all about him, again, which is rather annoying since DC is not James Gunn's creation, and being in charge of something doesn't mean that it's now your own personal platform to peddle all of your favorite ideologies. As I've been saying for years, Hollywood should focus on creating entertainment that appeals to a wide audience of different walks of life and different political and personal beliefs, with less polarizing and more universal stories, as all this aggressive woke messaging they keep pushing simply isn't a sustainable business model, and it just annoys viewers, especially when it comes to established franchises like DC, Marvel, Star Wars, Star Trek, and Doctor Who that have all chased away most of their existing fans in recent years by constantly lecturing them. But specifically in James Gunn's case, I'm not even really surprised at anything we're seeing from him since he became the co-CEO of DC Studios. People thought that because he made some decent Guardians of the Galaxy movies back in the day, that perhaps his DCU stuff would be more entertainment driven, but they must not have been paying attention because for those who don't remember, it's James Gunn's venture into political preaching that ultimately led to his firing in 2018. At the time, he had compared the current and former US president to the Mustache Man, indirectly implying that the people that voted for him are complicit in his Mustache Man behavior too. And this is what led some known figures on the right to dig up Gunn's old tweets where he made some very odd and strange comments about, PDF files? And ultimately, being the big supporters of cancel culture that they are, Disney ended up firing Gunn over those past tweets. And even though Disney ended up eventually rehiring him, it looks like Gunn is still angry about that. And he still holds a grudge against right-leaning people who he seemingly blames for his own stupid tweets that got him in trouble to begin with. That's likely how he got those dumb keyboard monkeys in his disappointing Superman movie. But in the bigger picture, much like Kathleen Kennedy, Alex Kurtzman, and Russell T Davies during his second tenure at Doctor Who, James Gunn has gone all in on his agenda peddling, proving that even after everything he went through, he learned nothing at all. His cancellation didn't help him grow as a person, it only made him smaller, more petty, and more aggressive with his divisive politics. And given that Gunn has said that Peacemaker is very important in establishing the entire foundation of his DC cinematic universe,
we have the setting up of all of the rest of the DCU in this season of Peacemaker. It's incredibly important.
I don't foresee this improving moving forward, and quite honestly, given the tone of this show, I also don't understand how this Peacemaker series is supposed to be a setup for a Superman sequel either. I mean, are kids supposed to watch Peacemaker Season 2 to understand what happens in Superman Man of Tomorrow? Because it's really not a wholesome family-friendly show, which again begs the question, why did Warner Brothers ever even hire James Gunn to begin with? You know, during his time in charge, I kept hearing that Zack Snyder wasn't family-friendly enough, that he rushed to put too many characters in his movies, that he wasn't making enough money for Warner Brothers, and that he had capitalized on his DCEU to build his own brand as a filmmaker, which apparently was frowned upon. But if Gunn was supposed to be a contrast to that, then he has failed miserably on every level, and while I think that Snyder himself wasn't perfect, he still performed better than Gunn overall. I know some people really like Snyder and his work, and some people really don't, and I suppose that I myself fall somewhere in between, but there's one thing I can say about the guy. I never felt that Snyder had malicious intentions towards his viewers. While there were certainly some creative choices that he made that I disagreed with, I didn't think that he hijacked DC so that he could turn it into his own private political platform. To me, Snyder always seemed like a guy that wanted to entertain people with his movies, even if he didn't always win everybody over with his final results. And overall, for the most part, Snyder seemed like a straightforward, decent, and well-meaning guy with a generally positive attitude. So basically, the exact opposite of James Gunn, and the big question is, how much credit will Gunn keep getting from Warner Brothers amidst all of his failures and controversies, especially if and when Warner Brothers ends up being sold, as current rumors suggest. Now obviously, I will continue to keep you posted about James Gunn's DCU as things develop, and if you've been enjoying my videos and still haven't liked and subscribed, please take a second to do that now so that more people could end up seeing this video. Thanks for watching, my friends. Thank you, and good day.
I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos. But